this morning we're looking at rule of life. And I wonder, just a hypothetical question, just to get our brains thinking. If I asked you, what are your holiday plans for this year? I wonder what you would say. Maybe you'd probably be able to tell me the list of places that are on your bucket list for this year. Maybe there's a few places you've got booked already and you're really excited. You can tell me all the planning. We're going to go to this city and we're going to go and do that, and then there's that, and then we're going to go here, and then all these things that we're going to do. If you're anything like my wife, she loves planning a holiday. She loves to kind of have it all organized. I'm terrible at doing it. I kind of just go, you do, I'll just go along. But she plans it all, and it's so well planned out. But if I asked you a follow-up question, which was, how do you plan to get closer to Jesus this year? That's a bit more of a tricky question to try and answer. That's maybe we don't necessarily have something in our lives for that. Maybe because many of us, we don't plan for that in the same way that we meticulously plan for our holidays. Listen to these few words from John Mark Comer. I'm going to be going a few times through the book this morning. There's a whole chapter of the book on this thing, a rule of life. This is what he says. Most people have a plan for their money, with their budget, a plan for their time, maybe a schedule, and all sorts of plans for their education, their career, retirement, their family, your kids' sports teams, gym routine, and so on. Maybe not the gym routine. But very few have a plan to be with Jesus and thoughtfully apprentice under him in such a way that over time they become the people who naturally do and say the kinds of things that Jesus said and did. That's challenging. That's really challenging to think about. And I think for many of us, we need what many throughout the church history, all the way back to kind of desert fathers and mothers, have called rule of life. So this morning we're going to look at what is a rule of life, why do we need a rule of life, and how do we live by and embed into our lives a rule of life. So the first thing is, what is a rule of life? Again, if this might be very new language to you this morning, you're thinking, I feel a bit lost. Bear with me, it should hopefully become clearer. Like I say, it goes way back throughout church history. For years and centuries, it's been a thing that people have practiced. They've lived by. A rule of life has guided both individuals and communities, especially thinking like monastic movements and communities have lived by this idea of rule of life to help them live in deeper, more faithful communion and apprenticeship to Jesus. It's really important to note that it says rule of life, not rules for life, list of rules or anything like that. It's not this big long list of rules of do's and don'ts. It's a rule of life. It's singular. It comes from a Latin word, regula, where we get the English word regular or rule or ruler. Think, for example, it literally means a straight piece of wood. I think back, when I hear that, I think of like back in my school days, they'd have the really long wooden, like a meter like stick, weren't they? Yeah. It makes me think of that. And many believe that this word was used in the ancient Mediterranean for a trellis in a vineyard. Thinking of that makes me think of this passage in John. If you've got a Bible with you, why don't you open it up to John chapter 15. Phone, whatever digital device you've got as well. Turn with me to John chapter 15. The words will come up on the screen as well, but it can be quite hard to read, so I really recommend having it in front of you where we can engage with it. Verses 4 to 8. Remain in me, as I also remain in you. No branch can bear fruit by itself. It must remain in the vine. Neither can you bear fruit unless you remain in me. I am the vine, you are the branches. If you remain in me and I in you, you will bear much fruit. Apart from me, you can do nothing. If you do not remain in me, you are like a branch that is thrown away and withers. Such branches are picked up and thrown into the fire and burned. If you remain in me and my words remain in you, ask whatever you wish and it will be done for you. This is to my Father's glory, that you bear much fruit, showing yourselves to be my disciples. We looked last week, we used that same passage, and in the message it changes. It says, live in me. Make your home in me. Now, I'm not much of a gardener myself. I try, but I'm pretty bad. I've mentioned that up here a few times over the years and mentioned that I'm not a very good gardener. And actually, there's a story. Just bear with me. It will make sense. A few years ago, I tried to grow sugar snap peas in our garden. So I got the seeds and all this. I planted them. And my parents are very good gardeners. So I was like, look, I've got these. What do I do? They said, well, you need some kind of trellis. See, it's making sense, right? So they said, you need some. I said, okay, well, I've got these like bamboo kind of sticks in the garden. So I shoved a few of them in the soil, crossed them over so it looked kind of like a trellisy thing, stuck it up against our fence, and about 2 weeks later, it had blown down, and it was this tangled mess. It had grown into it. It was just a nightmare. And we got a couple of peas off of it, but nowhere near as much as we should have had if I'd actually done the proper work and given it something to climb up so it could have grown and bared much fruit or vegetables. In the same way, we in our lives, we need a structure for our spiritual lives that's going to help us bear much fruit. We need a rule of life. What is a rule of life? Well, you can describe it as this. John Mark Comer describes it as a schedule and a set of practices and relational rhythms that create space for us to be with Jesus, become like him, and do as he did, as we live in alignment with our deepest desires. Or simply put, it's a plan to follow Jesus. Maybe you prefer that. It's a bit of a shorter, simpler example. It's a plan for us to follow Jesus, to help us keep true to our commitment to follow him. But the thing is, for many of us, we might sit here this morning and think, I don't think I've got a rule of life. I need to work on one. The reality is, we've already got one. Every single one of us has already got a rule of life that we live by, whether we realize it or not. Think about your morning routine. What do you do the first few hours of your day? Is your phone the first thing that you reach for? Is it the news? Is it time spent with God? Whatever it might be. What about your typical work day? The pace of your life through your day? Do you work and eat your lunch at your desk every day? Do you get away from it? Do you get time? What about the relationships in your life? The people who are speaking into your life? The people that are shaping you? How you spend your free time? The budget you set for your life? All of these things are your rule of life already, whether you may realize it or not. The question is, do you know what yours is? Is it giving you the kind of life that you truly desire? Or maybe ask it in a different way, is it working for you or against you? Some challenging questions this morning. The likelihood is that we don't really know what our rule of life is because we've not been intentional about it. We've just let the world make it for us. We've let it happen naturally by what we do, by default. Our rule of life is being made for us by so many other things around us. Back to the book again. Here's what John Mark Comer says. I hate to break it to you, but you are being controlled. Your addiction to your phone, the appetites of your body for pleasure, and the spooky algorithms of Silicon Valley. Coming up with rules can put your life back under the control of your deepest desires. Choose your own constraints, or they will be chosen for you. Not by the Spirit of God stirring in your own heart towards love, but by some programmer in Silicon Valley working to steal your time and shape your behavior. The choice is yours. Rule or be ruled. That's a pretty scary thought. That my phone in my front right pocket, the time I spend on it, is being chosen for me by some guy in America making a ton of money by stealing my attention, by feeding me more of what it thinks I like so it can grip me more, spend more time on my phone, believe a certain agenda. The way I live my life is being dictated by other people, by forces outside of my control. That's a scary thought. Which is why it's so important for us to know and to live by a rule of life, which is aimed around those three things: to be with Jesus, become like him, and do as he did. I was reflecting on this. Our ancient ancestors, they had a rule of life. They didn't have phones that were dominating their attention. They still thought this was a really good thing to do. How much more so is it important for us in a day and age where it's going to be chosen for us if we're not careful?